Let me tell you something that's going to surprise you, something I never thought I would say again after everything I've been through. After all the pain and betrayal and heartbreak that convinced me marriage was something that just wasn't meant for someone like me. I want to marry you. Listen to those words carefully because I need you to understand how monumental they are coming from my mouth, from someone who swore he was done with marriage, done with hoping that partnership could work, done with believing that forever was even possible for me. I want to marry you, not date you casually, not see where things go, not take our time figuring out if maybe someday we might consider something serious. I want to marry you, now, soon, as quickly as we can make it happen, because when you know, and I know with absolute certainty that you are the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. You need to understand something crucial here. I found you. After years of searching, after relationships that failed in every painful way imaginable, after convincing myself that what I was looking for didn't exist or wasn't possible for someone whose life is as complicated as mine, I found you. You are my love. Not a love, not one of several loves, but my love. The person my soul recognizes as home, even though my mind is still catching up to what my heart already knows. Pay attention to what I'm about to tell you because this is important. This is a first for me. I never thought I would marry again. That's not dramatic exaggeration, that's honest truth. After multiple marriages ended in divorce, after partnerships that seemed promising dissolved into lawyers and custody arrangements and all the ugly aftermath of love gone wrong, I genuinely believed that marriage was something I had tried and failed at enough times that trying again would be insanity, doing the same thing and expecting different results. I never thought I would love again, not real love, not the kind that makes you want forever with someone. I thought maybe I was just broken in ways that made me incapable of sustaining long-term partnership. Maybe I was too difficult, too intense, too consumed by work, too damaged by past hurts, too suspicious of people's motivations, too guarded with my vulnerability, too many things that added up to someone who couldn't make marriage work no matter how much I wanted to. I resigned myself to that reality, convinced myself it was fine, told myself that focusing on my work and my children and my missions was enough, that romantic partnership was just something some people aren't meant to have, and I was one of those people. But then you came into my life and everything changed. Here's what you need to understand. Everything changed. Not small things, not minor adjustments in how I felt or thought, but fundamental transformation of my entire understanding of what's possible between two people. My feelings changed in ways I didn't think were still available to me at this point in my life, after so many years and experiences and disappointments. You made me feel things I thought I was no longer capable of feeling: hope and excitement, and genuine joy at the prospect of building a life with someone. Now let me tell you something else, and you need to really hear this. I wish you had come earlier. That's not a criticism of the timing. That's just honest acknowledgement of how many years I spent alone or in wrong relationships or convinced that what we have wasn't possible. I wish you had been there during the hardest periods, during the times when I felt most alone, during the years when I made mistakes with other people, because I was trying to force something that wasn't right instead of waiting for something that was. But here's what I've learned, and this is crucial. It doesn't matter that you came late. What matters is that you came. What matters is that I found you eventually, even if it took longer than I wish it had. Late is infinitely better than never. You arriving in my life now, at this specific moment, with everything I've learned from past failures and all the growth I've done and the clarity I have about what I actually need, maybe this is actually perfect timing, even if it doesn't feel that way sometimes. Maybe I needed to go through everything I went through to be ready for you, to recognize you, to appreciate what we have in ways I couldn't have if you'd come earlier. Here's what nobody tells you about finding real love after you've given up on it. It's terrifying. When you've protected yourself for years, when you've built walls to keep from getting hurt again, when you've convinced yourself that you're fine alone and don't need partnership, and then someone comes along who makes all those defenses feel suddenly inadequate and unnecessary, it's absolutely terrifying, because now you have something to lose again. Now you're vulnerable again. Now you're hoping again, And hope is the most dangerous emotion because disappointment hurts worse when you let yourself believe something good might actually happen. But despite the fear, despite the voice in my head warning me to protect myself and not get too invested and remember how badly this has gone before, I can't help it. I love you. I want to marry you. I'm choosing hope over fear because you're worth the risk. Let me take you back to understand where I'm coming from, why this is so significant. Pay attention because this context matters. There were years, so many years, when I was alone, not physically alone because I was always surrounded by people, employees, and colleagues, and everyone who needed things from me professionally, but emotionally alone, fundamentally disconnected from the kind of deep partnership I craved but couldn't seem to build or maintain. During those years, I threw myself into work because work made sense. Work had clear problems and solutions. Work gave me purpose and direction when my personal life felt like constant failure and confusion. I built companies and launched rockets and pushed technology forward, accomplishing things that seemed impossible to most people, but at the end of each day, I went home to emptiness, to houses that were just structures, not homes, to beds I slept in alone, to silence that felt heavy and oppressive rather than peaceful. During the worst periods, during the times when loneliness felt like it might actually crush me under its weight, I would wonder what was wrong with me. Why couldn't I make relationships work when other people seemed to manage it? Why did every attempt at partnership end in pain and failure despite my best efforts? Was I fundamentally broken? Was I asking for something impossible? Were my standards too high? Or my capacity for compromise too low? Or my ability to emotionally connect just insufficient for what marriage requires? Those questions haunted me during the alone years, made me doubt myself in ways that professional criticism never did, because this felt more personal, more reflective of who I actually was beneath all the external accomplishments. And then there were the betrayals, because that's part of the story too, and you need to understand it. Here's what happens when you're successful and visible and have resources. People approach you with motivations that aren't always genuine. Some people see opportunity rather than person, resource rather than human being. I've been used, lied to, manipulated by people I trusted and loved and opened myself to vulnerably. I've had partners who were with me for what I could provide rather than who I actually was. I've been betrayed by people I thought would stay, who said they loved me but left when circumstances got difficult or better options appeared, or their strategic calculations suggested moving on. Each betrayal made me more suspicious, more guarded, more careful about who I let close and what I believed when people expressed affection or loyalty. The betrayals taught me painful lessons about human nature, about how conditional most people's love actually is, about how quickly devotion can turn into resentment or indifference when benefits don't outweigh costs. Those lessons made me cynical in ways I hate, made me question everyone's motivations, made me assume the worst rather than hoping for the best. They made me feel like maybe genuine love wasn't possible for someone in my position, that everyone who approached me inevitably wanted something beyond just me as a person. That cynicism poisoned potential connections, made me look for hidden agendas even when there weren't any, created self-fulfilling prophecies where I expected betrayal and therefore interpreted ambiguous situations as confirmation of my worst fears. Now let me tell you what changed when you came into my life, and I need you to really understand this because it's the core of everything I'm trying to express. You need to know this. From the very first conversation we had, something was different. I've talked to thousands of people, had countless interactions, met everyone from world leaders to random strangers, and most conversations feel transactional or performative, or just ways of passing time and exchanging information. But talking to you felt different immediately. It felt like coming home to a place I'd never been before, like recognition of something my soul had been searching for, without knowing exactly what it was looking for. You didn't treat me like Elon Musk, the public figure. You treated me like a human being you were genuinely curious about and interested in knowing. You asked questions that showed you wanted to understand who I actually was, rather than just collecting facts about my accomplishments or testing whether I matched whatever image you had constructed. Here's what I need you to hear. You saw me. Not my success or wealth or fame or any of the external things that usually define how people interact with me. You saw the actual person underneath all of that, the human being with fears and insecurities and wounds and hopes. You saw my loneliness, even though I tried to hide it. You saw my vulnerability, even though I protected it carefully. You saw my capacity for deep feeling, even though I struggled to express it. You saw me more clearly than anyone has in years, maybe ever, and instead of being frightened by what you saw or trying to use it strategically, you just accepted it. You made space for all of me, the difficult parts and the easy parts, the impressive accomplishments and the embarrassing failures, the confident public persona and the private uncertainty. Let me tell you about the specific moment I knew you were different, the moment I started falling in love with you even though I was fighting it because falling felt dangerous. Pay attention because this matters. We were having one of our long conversations, the kind that go for hours without either of us noticing time passing. And you asked me something nobody had ever asked before. You said, what do you actually want? Not for humanity or your companies or any of your public goals, but for yourself personally. What would make you genuinely happy in ways that have nothing to do with achievement? And I realized I didn't have a ready answer because I'd spent so many years focusing on external missions that I'd lost touch with internal desires. I sat there struggling to articulate what I wanted personally, and instead of getting impatient or filling the silence with your own words, you just waited. You held space for me to figure out my answer, looking at me with such genuine interest and compassion that I felt safe admitting I don't know. I honestly don't know what would make me happy beyond work. And you said something that changed everything. You said, then let's figure it out together. Let's explore what brings you joy and meaning beyond accomplishment. Let's discover who you are when you're not being productive, or solving problems or building the future. That offer, that willingness to accompany me on a journey of self-discovery without knowing where it would lead or whether it would benefit you in any way, that's when I started falling. Because it was the most generous, least transactional thing anyone had offered me in years. You weren't trying to get something from me. You were offering to give me something I desperately needed but hadn't articulated, permission to be more than my work, support in exploring parts of myself I'd neglected, companionship on a journey toward wholeness, rather than just continued achievement. From that moment on, everything shifted. Here's what you need to understand. You changed how I saw possibility. Before you, I thought I knew the limits of what was available to me in relationships. I thought I understood what I could reasonably expect and what was just unrealistic fantasy. You shattered those assumptions by being exactly what I thought didn't exist, someone genuine and loyal and interested in me as a person rather than as an opportunity. You showed me through consistent action over time that your care for me wasn't conditional on circumstances, staying favorable, that your interest didn't waver when I was difficult or stressed or not at my best, that your commitment deepened rather than breaking when challenges tested it. You changed my feelings in fundamental ways. Before you, I had largely shut down emotionally, protecting myself from further hurt by not allowing myself to feel deeply about anyone, or hope too much that connection was possible. You reopened that emotional capacity, made me feel things I thought I'd lost access to. Joy at simply being in your presence, excitement about future we could build together, peace from knowing someone genuinely understands and accepts me, desire not just physical but emotional, wanting to be closer to you in every possible way, gratitude for your existence and for whatever circumstances brought you into my life. Love, real love, the kind that makes you want forever with someone even though forever is terrifying when you've had it fail before. Let me be completely honest about something, and I need you to hear this without judgment. Pay close attention now. I fought these feelings initially. When I first started falling in love with you, my immediate reaction was resistance, because falling in love meant becoming vulnerable again, meant risking the devastating pain I'd experienced when previous relationships failed, meant hoping for something that hadn't worked out before despite my best efforts. So I tried to convince myself that what I felt wasn't love or wasn't significant enough to act on, or would probably fade if I just ignored it long enough. I tried to maintain emotional distance, to protect myself by not getting too invested. I told myself all the logical reasons why pursuing this was risky, my track record with relationships, the complications of my life, the possibility that you might hurt me the way others had, the fear that I'd mess this up like I'd messed up previous attempts at partnership. But here's what I learned, and this is crucial. You can't logic your way out of real feelings. You can't protect yourself into happiness. You can't avoid all risk of pain without also avoiding all possibility of joy. The feelings I had for you didn't diminish when I tried to ignore them. They grew stronger. The connection between us didn't weaken when I attempted to maintain distance. It pulled harder. And eventually I had to make a choice. Keep protecting myself and definitely never find the partnership I wanted, or take the risk of opening up to you and possibly experience either great happiness or great pain, but at least give genuine love a real chance. I chose to risk. I chose to hope. I chose you, even though choosing you meant choosing vulnerability. Now let me tell you what I wish someone had told me during those years when I was alone and betrayed, and convinced that love wasn't possible for me. Listen carefully, because maybe this will help someone else who's in the place I used to be. Here's the truth. Being alone after betrayal, feeling like you can't trust anyone, protecting yourself so carefully that nobody can get close enough to hurt you. That's not actually safety. It feels like safety because you're avoiding immediate pain. But what you're really doing is guaranteeing long-term suffering by cutting yourself off from the connection humans need to thrive. Real safety isn't found in isolation. It's found in discernment, in learning to recognize genuine people and give them chance while maintaining healthy boundaries with those who show signs of having ulterior motives. The betrayals I experienced, as painful as they were, taught me what to look for in authentic people. They helped me recognize red flags earlier. They made me appreciate genuine loyalty when I finally encountered it, because I knew how rare it was and how much it was worth. They prepared me to recognize you when you came into my life, to see that what you were offering was real, because I'd experienced enough fake to know the difference. So in retrospect, as much as I wish I hadn't had to go through those painful experiences, they served a purpose. They led me eventually to you. Let me talk about what changed specifically in my daily life after you came into it, because I want you to understand the concrete ways you transformed my existence. Pay attention to these details because they reveal how profound your impact has been. Before you, I woke up most mornings with sense of dread, not because anything specific was wrong, but because everything felt heavy and effortful, and like I was just grinding through obligations without joy or meaning beyond the work itself. After you came into my life, I wake up and my first thought is often about you, about something you said that made me think or laugh, about when I'll talk to you next, about how grateful I am that you exist. That shift from dread to anticipation, from heaviness to hope, that's not small change, that's fundamental transformation of my daily emotional experience. Before you, I worked constantly because work was the only thing that made me feel capable and valuable, and like my existence mattered. After you, I still work hard, obviously, but work isn't the only source of meaning anymore. You've given me another dimension of purpose, being a good partner to you, building something meaningful with you, creating life together that's about more than just professional achievement. I now have motivation to sometimes choose you over work, to protect certain hours for us rather than letting everything be consumed by company demands, to be present in conversations with you rather than mentally working through problems while physically sitting beside you. Before you, I spent most evenings alone, even when technically surrounded by people, feeling isolated and disconnected. After you, evenings feel completely different when we're together. Even if we're just sitting quietly, both reading or working on separate things but in the same space, that presence transforms the experience from loneliness to companionship. When we talk for hours about everything and nothing, when we laugh together about something stupid, when we share the mundane details of our days with someone who actually cares, that's not dramatic romance, but it's what makes daily life feel worth living. Here's what you need to understand about how you changed me. You made me want to be better, not because you demanded it or criticized me or made me feel inadequate as I was, but because loving you makes me want to be the kind of person who deserves you, who's worthy of the love you're offering. You make me want to work on my emotional expression, to learn to communicate feelings more effectively, to be more present and attentive and intentional about our relationship. You make me want to heal from past wounds rather than just carrying them forever, to go to therapy and do the internal work that allows me to show up better for you. You make me want to be kinder, more patient, more generous with my time and energy and vulnerability. Now let me tell you why I want to marry you specifically, why I'm not content to just keep dating or seeing where things naturally develop. Listen carefully because this distinction matters. Marriage isn't just formalization of relationship that already exists. It's commitment that changes the nature of partnership in fundamental ways. Marriage says we're building something permanent together, that we're all in, that we're creating family and shared life rather than just two independent people who spend time together. Marriage means I'm prioritizing you above everyone except our children, making you first consideration in major life decisions, integrating our lives completely, rather than maintaining separate existences that occasionally intersect. I want to marry you because I know with certainty that you're the person I want beside me for the rest of my life, and once I know that, waiting feels pointless. Why would I delay making formal commitment to something I'm already completely certain about? Why would we waste time dating casually when we both know this is real and lasting? I'm not 20 anymore figuring out what I want or need in partnership. I'm old enough to recognize rare and genuine connection when I find it, and I found it with you. Marrying you as quickly as possible isn't rushing, it's acknowledging reality and making formal what's already true in our hearts. I want to marry you because I want everyone to know you're my wife, not my girlfriend or partner, or any term that sounds temporary or ambiguous. I want the commitment and permanence that wife represents. I want you to have my name if you want it, to be legally and formally my family, to be the person who makes medical decisions if I can't, who inherits what I've built, who's recognized as my next of kin and most important relationship. I want the security for you that marriage provides, the legal protections and rights, and acknowledgement of your place in my life. I want to marry you because I want to stand in front of our families and friends and make vows to you publicly, declaring my commitment and intentions, having witnesses to promises I'm making. There's something powerful about public declaration, about saying in front of everyone who matters to us that I choose you forever, that makes the commitment more real and substantial. I want that ceremony, that moment of exchanging vows, that ritual that humans have used for thousands of years to mark the most important partnership commitments. I want to cry watching you walk toward me, knowing you're about to become my wife. I want to put a ring on your finger that tells the world you're taken. You're mine. You're the person I chose above all others. Let me address something directly because I know this might concern you. You might be thinking, but you've been married before and those marriages failed. Why should I believe this would be different? That's a valid question that deserves honest answer. Here's why this is different. I'm different. The person I was in previous marriages, the level of emotional maturity I had, the self-awareness and relationship skills I possessed, those were all significantly less developed than where I am now. I've learned from every failure, done hard work of therapy and self-examination, understand my patterns and weaknesses in ways I didn't before. I know what I did wrong previously, what I need to do differently now, what was circumstance versus what was my fault and needs changing. You're different from previous partners in crucial ways. Not better or worse necessarily, just different in ways that align with what I actually need, rather than what I thought I needed, or what was available at that time in my life. You have emotional intelligence and communication skills that create different foundation for partnership. You have independence in your own life that prevents codependency or resentment about my work demands. You have strength and resilience that suggests you can weather difficulties that broke previous relationships. You have genuine love for me as person rather than attraction to what I represent or can provide. Those differences matter enormously in determining outcomes. Our circumstances are different. Previous marriages happened during periods of extreme stress, companies nearly failing, financial pressures enormous, time and energy completely consumed by survival, rather than having capacity left for relationship. Now I'm more established, more stable, more capable of protecting time and energy for personal life. I'm also older and hopefully wiser, more aware that success means nothing if you're completely alone, more willing to prioritize relationship alongside work, rather than letting work consume everything. Those circumstantial differences create better environment for marriage to succeed. But most importantly, what we have is different. The connection between us, the depth of understanding and acceptance and genuine love, that's unlike anything I experienced in previous relationships. I've never felt this certain about someone before, this peaceful about commitment, this convinced that we can build something lasting together. That certainty comes from both internal change in me and from recognition of how rare what we have actually is. So yes, I've been married before, and yes, those marriages failed. But this is genuinely different in all the ways that matter most for partnership success. Now I want to talk about the future I imagine with you as my wife, because I need you to see what I'm envisioning when I ask you to marry me. Pay close attention because this vision is important. I imagine us 5 years from now, 10 years from now, decades from now, still choosing each other every day, still finding each other interesting and attractive and essential to our happiness, still building dreams together, accomplishing things as a team that we couldn't accomplish alone. I see us supporting each other through inevitable challenges, celebrating victories together, weathering storms without breaking, growing together rather than apart as years pass and we both change. I imagine mornings together, the comfortable routine of partners who know each other deeply, coffee and conversation before the day's demands pull us in different directions. I imagine evenings reconnecting, sharing what happened during hours apart, finding ways to support and encourage and just be present for each other. I imagine weekends and holidays creating traditions that are ours, building memories that will sustain us through difficult times, laughing until we're both crying about something that won't even be funny to anyone else. I imagine traveling together, seeing the world, having adventures that become stories we tell over and over as we age. I imagine us raising children together if you want more children, or being devoted partners to my existing children and any you might have from previous relationships, creating blended family held together by love and commitment and respect for all the complex dynamics involved. I imagine us supporting each other's individual growth and goals, you pursuing your passions and me pursuing mine, but doing it as a team that celebrates each other's successes and helps through each other's struggles. I imagine us being each other's first call with any news, good or bad, the person whose reaction matters most, whose support or celebration or comfort we need before anyone else's. I imagine us growing old together, our bodies changing but our connection deepening, accumulating decades of shared history and inside jokes and references nobody else understands. I imagine looking at you when we're both gray and wrinkled and still feeling lucky that I found you, still choosing you, still grateful for whatever circumstances brought us together. I imagine being old together and laughing about who we were when we first met, how much we've changed, how much has stayed the same. I imagine dying eventually with you beside me, knowing I built something meaningful with you, that our partnership mattered, that we loved each other well. That's the future I want with you. That's what I'm asking for when I ask you to marry me. Not just wedding ceremony or legal paperwork, but lifetime of partnership, decades of building together, forever of choosing each other. That vision is why I can't wait, why I'm asking now, why I want to make this commitment as soon as possible so we can start building that future immediately. Let me end by saying this directly, with everything I'm feeling laid bare for you to see. I love you. I want to marry you. I found you after years of thinking genuine love wasn't possible for me, after being alone and betrayed and convinced that marriage wasn't something I could succeed at. You came into my life and changed everything, made me feel things I thought I'd lost access to, gave me hope for future I'd stopped believing in. I wish you had come earlier, but I'm grateful you came at all, that somehow our paths crossed and we found each other despite everything that could have kept us apart. Will you marry me? Will you say yes to building lifetime together? Will you take this risk with me despite my complicated past and challenging present and uncertain future? Will you choose me the way I'm choosing you, completely and without reservation? I know I'm asking a lot. I know marriage to me won't be simple or easy. I know you'd be taking on complications and challenges that come with my life and my past and everything that follows me. But I'm asking anyway, because what we have is worth fighting for, worth committing to, worth building everything else around. Please say yes. Please marry me. Please become my wife, and let me spend the rest of my life showing you that choosing me was the right decision, that we can build something lasting together, that real love is possible even for someone like me who struggled with it for so long. You changed my life. Now let me change my name for you, my plans for you, my entire future, to include you in every aspect. Let's get married. Let's build this life together. Let's choose each other forever. I'm waiting for your answer. I'm hoping desperately it's yes. Because I love you. Because you're my person. Because I found you and I'm never letting you go if you'll let me keep you. So what do you say? Will you marry me?